This is a new Folio Mill deck. The idea with Folio Mill, so call it, is to use a Folio of Fancies, which allows both players to draw cards, and it also allows you to tap it and make the opponent put a number of cards equal to the number of cards in their hand from the top of the library into the graveyard. And both players have no maximum hand size. So the idea is to put lots of cards into their hand and then make them then mill the rest of their library into their graveyard, and that's how you win the game. To help do this, I use Smothering Tithe, which means whenever they draw a card, you usually get a treasure token unless they pay to stop it. If you have a number of Smothering Tithes out, and you then tap your Folio of Fancies to make them draw X cards, for each of those cards you then get another treasure for each Smothering Tithe. So you can end up, because you're also drawing cards, you can end up getting more Folio of Fancies into your hand, which on your turn you can then play, tap, get more cards, and so on. At the same time you're getting lots of treasures from the Smothering Tithe, which powers this, and you can usually, once things are going, then get a one-turn kill by milling them, a one-turn mill. So this is the current version, but if we go back to the decks, this was the previous version that I have videos for, and this was pre-Theros. So we had the Folio Fancies, the Smothering Tithes, and the Mirror Maids, which let me copy a Smothering Tithe or a Folio of Fancies, and that was the core. I then had Manifold Key, which lets me untap a Folio of Fancies, and with that I then had Overwhelmed Apprentice to mill them and provide blockers as well as scry. I had Starfield Mystic to allow enchantments to be played earlier, being the Mirror Maid and the Smothering Tithe. Corridor Monitors work as a blocker. They also let you untap a Folio of Fancies. I then had Drawn from Dreams to find key pieces, Sphinx of Foresight to give me scry at the beginning to help me get the lands and the pieces that I need. It also gave me scry later on when it was played, and it also worked as a blocker, as a flyer, and could do damage depending on what I needed at the time. I had Time Wipe, which would let me bring something back into my hand, say Sphinx of Foresight or an Overwhelmed Apprentice, and then destroy all other creatures. This is 5 mana, so it takes a bit to get there. And then finally Mass Manipulation, which helps me to steal their board. Especially with Planeswalkers, this was really good. So that was pre-Theros. Since Theros came out, I have actually gone through quite a few different iterations for this deck. I did end up going down a path where I used a lot more Brazen Borrowers and Fae of Wishes to provide tempo and also to find the pieces that I need. I found those decks they just ended up being a bit too slow. The Fae of Wishes, whilst it let me go and get a piece that I needed by having a Folio of Fancies or a Smothering Tithe as being part of my sideboard, the problem was that was 4 mana to cast it, and then I have to cast whatever I've gotten, and it just ended up being a bit too slow, and the decks didn't work. So I ended up with this deck instead, which is similar to the previous one. It has the Smothering Tithe, the Mirror Maid, and the Folio Fancies for the core of the deck. I don't have a sideboard at this point. I have dropped one of the Overwhelmed Apprentices. Once again, provides blocker and scry. I've dropped some of the Manifold Keys. I've found that I am drawing into enough Folio Fancies, and once the combo starts to go, I'm either getting more Mirror Maids, more Folio Fancies, or one of the two Manifold Keys, which just lets me untap. So this feels like about the right amount. I have added, I've dropped the Starfield Gazers, I think it's called, because it's, I'm not getting that much out of the Smothering Tithe, the reduction for the Smothering Tithe. Instead, I prefer to have the Birth of Meletus. This helps me, lets me get a Plains, which means turn 2 I can play this, turn 3 I can then get a Plains. I then get on turn 4 a 0/4 blocker, and I can then play the third Plains. Alternatively, it could be say turn 3. I could, if I've only had 2 lands, I can play Birth of Meletus. I can then play the Plains that I've searched for, and this, and then turn 3 of this gives me an extra 2 life, which just helps with some of your more aggro matchups. So I found this has actually been a really good card. I've also got 2 Idyllic Tutors. This lets me go and find Smothering Tithes or Mirror Maids if I'm just missing them, if I've got my Folio Fancies out. It doesn't let me get the Folio Fancies though, because it's not an enchantment. But the Idyllic Tutor has been quite handy. I've got 2 Burrows and Borrowers, which allow me to have a bit of tempo. I can bounce things back to their hand, and he can come out and do a bit of damage if I need. I've also got Teferis for a similar reason. It stops them casting instant speed spells or anything, and it also, he provides me with something where I can bounce things back to their hand, get a bit of card draw. This just helps provide me with a bit of tempo, and I found that he's been really good, which obviously it's Teferi, it's a very good card. I've also put in Nadir Kraken. I originally thought, when I first saw it, that this was going to be perfect card for this. It does work well, but it tends to be where it would normally really go off. It tends to be a bit of a win more sort of situation. The reason being, if I've got 2 or 3 Smothering Tithes out and a Folio of Fancies, I can tap the Folio of Fancies so that both players draw cards. That triggers the Smothering Tithes, which gives me treasures, and I can use those treasures to pay for the Nadir Kraken, which makes it very big and gives lots of little tentacles as blockers, which is fantastic. However, usually at that point, if I've got the combo going off, I can just keep going with the combo and win anyway without having to pump up the Kraken. So I still do like it. It works well if I haven't got the Folio of Fancies out, because it can create quite a lot of blockers. I can do it on their turn, when I can get treasures on their turn, and then on my turn I can use that to pump up the Kraken and still be able to cast what I need. So it can be a very good addition, but I've only got one copy of it, and I feel that that's about right. The other change that I made was getting rid of Time Wipe and putting in Shatter the Sky. So it's 1 mana less, and it doesn't have a blue pip, so it's a lot easier to get to play it. I can play it a turn earlier. The downside of the card is that if the opponent has a creature with power 4 or greater, they get to draw a card. However, having Smothering Tithe, that's what I want. That works into my overall strategy anyway, because yes, they get an extra card, but I get 1 or more treasures in return generally. So it works well, and in control matchups it's a great card just to get rid of the Dream Trawlers, which I also have 2 of. As other people have said, the Dream Trawler is a really great card, and it's been shown in the World Championships recently to be great in the control blue-white matchups. I found this works really well in this deck. It lets me draw cards, which is always good, but with Folio of Fancies I can actually tap the Folio of Fancies, have both of us draw cards, which can bump this Dream Trawler up hugely. It's got lifelink, so that helps keep me in the game. It can help pull the game back and let me stabilize when I need. The fact that I can discard a card and it gets hexproof is incredible, and with this sort of deck where both of us are drawing a lot of cards and through the Folio of Fancies, I then have just an excess of cards. Discarding a card is not a problem, so it works really well, and it gives me a good finisher. Also should be noted with the Manifold Key, this applies to the Kraken and the Dream Trawler. I can tap the Manifold Key for 3 mana and a creature can't be blocked, so that can work really well, and it can mean in a situation where I'm up against somebody else's Dream Trawler, I can get a bunch of cards, tap it, and go in and get a lot of life and do a lot of damage. So it works really well in this deck. I've also got Mass Manipulation. This helps me to deal with Planeswalkers, and also lets me steal the opponent's board, which can be great, especially in say green Stompy decks and the like, especially after I've Shattered the Sky and they're starting to build their board back. Usually by that point I've started to have Smothering Tithes. Because they're rebuilding their board, they don't want to pay to stop me getting the treasures, so usually at that point, whatever they've put out I can then steal, and that gives me either more time to hold them off while I get the combo going, or I can just beat them over the head with their own cards, which is always fun. The last card is Thassa's Intervention. Thassa's Intervention works really well. Gives me a counterspell, which can be worthwhile at different points depending on the deck, but it also lets me spend X to look at the top X cards of my library and put 2 of them into my hand. If I've got a situation where I've got the Smothering Tithes out with Mirror Maid, so I've got multiple, but I just haven't gotten the Folio of Fancies, at the end of the opponent's turn I can actually use the treasures that they've been generating, and I can look for over a huge number of X cards, and I can get out the Folio of Fancies that I need, which means next turn I can play it, tap it, draw a lot more cards, get the Smothering Tithe generating, bring it get more cards, get more folio fancies, and get the whole thing to go off. So overall, this deck's been working really well. I've been enjoying it. It is hard on the ladder because there's a lot of aggro on there. It can play against the blue-white control. It's obviously a bit more difficult, just because it's control and you need to make sure that the right things come out. It also, it does struggle a little bit against other mill decks, just because they can mill the things that I need, and my wins are trying to put cards into their hand, which also puts cards from my library into my hand, which helps them with their mill strategy. So to deal with those, I'd need to be doing best of 3. I can win against them, but it's harder, and I'd need things like Clear the Mind and Dance of the Manse in particular to counteract them, but can be done. This can beat mono red aggro. Once again, it's harder, and you need the right things like Overwhelmed Apprentices in there and Shadow the Sky, but definitely can work. And overall, very happy with it. So anyway, I've got a standard event to show you, and it's went really quite well, and I was very happy with the games. So enjoy. Okay, so we're going to do a standard event, and we'll use the Theros Folio Mill deck. Let's see how we do. That looks reasonable to start. Okay. No need to take the damage straight up. Okay. Let's have a look. Kraken will be good. Don't need that. Actually, yeah, I'll keep him. Crack it and get a blue. That way next turn I can put out a Kraken. Then a Smothering Tide, and then I can start getting tentacles. But I'm an idiot, and I forgot that outreach happens. So, such an idiot. Give me card draw. Might do this. Okay, good. So smothering tithe. No attacks. So we've got Folio Fancies and Mirror Maid next turn. Then we can go into a Dream Trawler. Should be pretty good. Still won't block. Okay. Want another island in case I get mass manipulation later on, which needs 4 blue. Copy of that. Fancies. We are looking good. We're looking really good. So I'm assuming he would have had a Johnny's Pride Mates and things. So I've been lucky that they haven't popped up. Here he goes. No Pride Mate. So we waited. Oh, lovely. Lovely. I won't worry. Got Dream Trawler to give me life back. So, draw 2 cards. Lovely. Okay. So simple looking nice. That's fine. Smothering Tide. Then I think we just leave it. No attacks, we'll block this time. And Folio and 3 tithes, that should be game next turn. So let's see what he does. Oh, that hurts. Okay, let's... Four. So this will give me extra mana. Okay. He has to discard. Okay. Do that. Do that. Do that. And don't need either of those. I want to get their hand as big as I can. And just mill them in a couple of turns. Okay, so it's like 7. Nice, say thank you. Oh, that serves nice too. Okay, we'll have to do this the old-fashioned way. Okay.
I am not going to sit this one out.
So bounce that.
Trust me, I have a plan.
Oh, there we go. Okay, we'll stop on their draw step. It is 3. Okay. So let them draw. Okay. If I can get to the next turn without getting my stuff blown up. Damn it. Okay. Castle Vandrus. Tip fairy up.
I've got time.
And we might as well go with the Nidia Kraken. So I can use Manifold Key to make him unblockable. Combat. Okay. Let's see how we go. Hopefully I'll draw another card. Damn it. That's a real pain. Yeah. Okay. Ah, yeah, no, that's all good. That's an instant. Okay.
Don't worry, I got this.
Do that. Might whiff. Oh. Okay. Target creature can't be blocked this time. Lovely. Decline. I'll leave up Thassa's intervention. Down to 14. Drop one of those. Goes to hell with that. May shadow the sky on this. Yeah. Yes, let's have a tentacle. Hooray! Okay. So that's 4, so I have 3, so I need to leave open. Is that 2? 4? Yeah. Okay. Let's run that out first. Just have to
Here we go.
Let's see. Let's just attack with 1. Okay. X equals 2. Oh, gotta pay 4. There it is. Game took a lot longer than I thought because of his removal, but that was good. So, 1 love.